God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness. Sorry, I have to remember what the subtitle or whatever you call it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, the Reverend Dave Hill faces an unexpected setback when his beloved church burns down, prompting the officials at the adjoining university to try and kick his congregation off campus. Battle lines are quickly drawn between the church and the community as the Reverend now finds himself at odds with his longtime friend, the president of the school. Facing a legal battle, Hill soon seeks help from his estranged brother, a big city lawyer and atheist, in a fight to help rebuild the church. All right, so just to start out here, I know I noticed there weren't a lot of YouTube. I mean, I watch mostly YouTube reviews. I know there's a lot of written reviews for this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look up the YouTube reviews, there's probably, as far as big YouTubers, there's probably just one or two reviews for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of unfair because these movies make a lot of money. They usually are in the top 5 for at least a week or two. If you look at, I can only imagine it's been in the top 5 for a while now.
But I think reason why they don't talk about the God's Not Dead movies all that much, because they feel as though it talks down to people.
That's exactly, that's what I was getting to. That's one of the, well, they don't do it for a lot of religious movies, and that's one of the problems with these faith-based movies, is that usually they're preaching to the choir. And if you watch the first God's Not Dead, I have such huge problems with the first God's Not Dead for how it depicts people that are non-believers. I mean, they even in the second one, they make them out to be villains.
Yeah, they just like make them out to be monsters.
Like, you're either on their side or you're not in the first two God's Not Dead movies.
They pretty much kill Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, they do. They kill Kevin Sorbo.
And they basically say, if you don't believe, it said, if you want to go to heaven, you better believe now. As he lays dying in the street from a car accident.
Yeah.
That's it. At that moment, I was like, no, these aren't for me, because I believe in everything like this, but at the same time, I don't like it. I don't like when a movie goes out of their way to make people who don't believe out to be monsters. When they can be good people on their own. It's not. They don't. It's not right to treat these people that way just because they believe differently from you. It's not. It's not right. It was very gross. It was.
Yeah. So this movie corrects a lot of that. This one's not so. This one actually, it preaches to the choir, but not in the way that the other ones were, where you are the good guys. This one actually preaches to you in a way where it's pointing the finger at the Christians. The Christians that think that they're better than a lot of things, and it teaches you the actual definition. The way even the Bible teaches you what a church is, where this man thinks because this is a public university, even though this church has been there longer than them, he thinks that his church has a right to stay where it's at, even though it's located in the heart of a public university, and the public university wants to do away with that church and build like a community center or something like that. And after the church burns down and he wants to rebuild his church, they think, well, how about we use this as an opportunity now to go ahead and pay for you to get a new church somewhere else off the campus. And he doesn't want to do that. So this movie teaches you about the real biblical definition of what a church is. A church is basically in the Bible, it's like where two or more gather, there shall I be, or something. And that's basically, the church is the community, not the building.
Yeah.
So this movie
people put too much into the actual building,
yes,
and not what it actually means to be a church.
So this is an excellent movie to teach you about, basically, for Christians to watch, to deal with pride, and also it has a good family message. John Corbett, I think that's what's his name, John Corbett. Mm-hmm. He carries this movie. David R. White is a decent actor. He's the center of this movie. He's always been a side character in the first two movies, and now they put him in the center of this movie. But John Corbett really he carries this movie. He's funny. He's got a lot. His character is pretty interesting, but like I said, this movie is a lot better than the first two, and it corrects a lot of the wrongs that the first two did. the bad taste it left in a lot of people's mouths with the first two. So, because usually, I mean, when people point out the mainstream Christian themed movies,
they point
to that about how they're more for the Christians and they don't really try to reach out.
They don't reach across the aisle.
Yeah. So, I didn't really like this movie as much as I liked I Can Only Imagine. Because I Can Only Imagine was one of those movies where it can reach across the aisle. So I'm like, especially
it was like if you didn't believe it's still a good story about the father and son refinding each other and all this.
Where this one has a lot of that. It does. There are still some people that can still kind of point out, because there are still, like, they might think of the people that are at the university as the villains in this movie, but they really aren't. They are trying to do what's best for their college, and they do a good job at showing both sides in this movie, which you don't get a lot of out of movies like in the first God's Not Dead or God's Not Dead 2. They are literally can try to make them out to be villains, where in this one they try to understand both sides, and they do it's just so much of a better make up for those wrongs that they did in those first two movies. So, but with that being said, it's still this one's, like I said, it's better directed. The cinematography is not anything special in this movie. The writing is pretty good. There's not a lot of corny jokes that you get a lot of corny jokes in some of the Christian movies. In this one, there's not a lot of corny jokes in it. Some of it seems a little, it's lighthearted and humorous, and it seems more natural and not so forced. So, but with that being said, for a score for this movie, I will give it I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. So not bad.
Okay,
It's a decent movie. You don't have to go out to a theater. Check it out on Netflix. I think these movies end up going to Netflix usually.
But doesn't PureFlix have their own streaming service?
Or yeah, it's definitely going to be on PureFlix. So if you have a PureFlix subscription, check it out on there whenever it comes out. But I think the first two are on Netflix too. So if you don't see them on PureFlix, definitely check it out somewhere on streaming once it's released, or Redbox, one of the two, or one of the few.